At Easter dinner, Dad told me to get out and stop being a burden. I quietly left, then blocked every single one of them forever. While you're here, tell us where you're watching from, it always warms my heart. Easter Sunday, 2024. I should have known something was wrong when I walked into my parents' house and nobody looked up. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not my sister Keisha or my brother Marcus. They were all huddled around the dining table like I'd interrupted some secret meeting. The ham sat untouched, steam rising off the glaze. Sweet potato casserole. Collard greens. All my favorites, which made what happened next hurt even more. Deshawn's here, Mom said flatly, like she was announcing a pest problem. I forced a smile, holding up the peach cobbler I'd spent 3 hours making that morning. Happy Easter, everybody. Made your favorite, Ma. Dad didn't even glance at me. He just kept cutting his ham with surgical precision, knife scraping against the plate. That sound, I can still hear it when I close my eyes. Marcus cleared his throat, exchanged a look with Keisha that I couldn't read. The air felt thick, suffocating. Sit down, Dad finally said. Not hey son or good to see you. Just those 2 words, cold as January. I sat across from Keisha, setting the cobbler on the table. She wouldn't meet my eyes. That's when my stomach dropped. My family had never been warm exactly, but this was different. This was planned. I could feel it in my bones, the way you know a storm's coming before the first raindrop falls. We need to talk, Dad continued, still not looking at me. Those 4 words. That's how it started. That's how my entire world began to collapse. My hands were shaking as I reached for the sweet tea pitcher. Mom slapped it away from me, actually slapped my hand like I was 5 years old stealing cookies. That's for family, she hissed. I blinked. Ma, what? Let me handle this, Regina, Dad interrupted. He finally looked at me, and I wished he hadn't. His eyes were empty, like he was looking at a stranger he wanted gone. Deshawn, we've been talking. All of us. And we've made a decision. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Keisha studied her plate. Nobody was eating. A decision about what? My voice cracked. I hated that it cracked. About you, Dad said simply. About your constant presence in this family. About how everything always has to revolve around you and your problems. My problems? I'd come to them exactly 3 times in the past year. Once when my car broke down and I needed a ride to work. Once when I was short $200 for rent after my hours got cut. Once when I asked if I could store some boxes in their garage while I moved apartments. 3 times. And I'd paid back every cent, moved those boxes out within 2 weeks. I don't understand, I said slowly. You never do, Keisha muttered. First words she'd spoken since I arrived. What's that supposed to mean? Dad held up his hand for silence. Your mother and I have been supporting you for 28 years. Your siblings have covered for you, lied for you, cleaned up your messes. We're done. Mess. I stood up, chair scraping hardwood. What messes? I work 50 hours a week at the warehouse. I pay my own rent, my own bills. You borrowed money from us 6 months ago, Mom cut in, her voice shrill. $200. I paid you back in 3 weeks. With an attitude, Keisha added, finally looking up. Her face was twisted with something ugly. Resentment? Hatred? When had that grown there? You acted like we owed you something. I said thank you. My voice was rising now. I couldn't help it. This was insane. This was some kind of coordinated ambush. I thanked you both, multiple times. What is happening right now? Marcus spoke for the first time. You remember my engagement party last month? What about it? You showed up late. Made a scene. Got drunk. I had 2 beers. And I was late because I worked a double shift that I couldn't get out of. I explained that. You embarrassed us, Marcus said coldly. Tasha's family thinks we're trash because of you. My head was spinning. The engagement party had been fine. I'd congratulated them, given them a card with $100 bill inside, money I really couldn't spare. I'd stayed for 2 hours, left early because I had to work the next morning at 6. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Dad's fist hit the table. The dishes jumped. Everything is always an excuse with you. You're 28 years old, and you're still acting like the world owes you something. Well, it doesn't. We don't. I'm not asking for anything, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. I came here for Easter dinner. That's it. That's all I wanted. See? Keisha threw her napkin down. There it is. That victim mentality. Everything happens to poor Deshawn. Nobody appreciates poor Deshawn. I never said that. You don't have to say it. She was screaming now, face flushed. You walk around with this cloud over you, like we all failed you somehow. Like we're supposed to fix your life for you. I felt like I'd been punched. This was my little sister. The girl I'd protected from bullies in middle school. The one I'd helped move into her first apartment. Spent my entire Saturday assembling her furniture while she went shopping with friends. That girl was looking at me like I was garbage. Where is this coming from? I whispered. Mom laughed. Actually laughed. You really don't see it, do you? You never have. You've been a burden since the day you were born. The room went silent. Even Dad looked surprised by that one. Marcus stared at his lap. Keisha's eyes went wide for a second before her face hardened again. Regina, Dad said quietly. No. Mom stood up, her chair nearly tipping backward. Someone needs to say it. He's 30 next year, and what does he have to show for it? A warehouse job? A studio apartment in the worst part of town? No girlfriend, no prospects, nothing. My throat was closing. I couldn't breathe. I worked 2 jobs to put myself through community college, I managed. I graduated with honors. I applied to 50 companies. Excuses. Mom's voice was like a whip. Your brother has a degree from Morehouse. Your sister's a nurse. What are you? A warehouse worker who can't even get promoted to supervisor. That's when I saw it. The real picture. This wasn't about borrowed money or being late to a party. This was about something deeper, older. Something that had been festering in Mom for years. You always loved them more, I said softly. The words came from somewhere deep and true. You always have. Dad stood up now. Don't you dare. It's true. I was shaking, but my voice was getting stronger. Marcus was your golden boy. Keisha was your princess. And I was, what? The practice kid? The one you messed up on before you figured out how to be good parents. Get out. Dad's voice was low, dangerous. I remember when I made the honor roll in 10th grade. You know what you said, Ma? You said, about time. When Marcus made honor roll, you threw him a party. That's not fair, Keisha started. Fair? I laughed, and it sounded broken even to my own ears. When I got my acceptance letter to community college, you told me I was settling. When Marcus got into Morehouse, you posted it on Facebook, called all your friends. Enough. Dad roared. The silence that followed was apocalyptic. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. The ham was getting cold. All that food, all that effort, and nobody had taken a single bite. Outside, I could hear kids playing, families laughing. Normal Easter sounds. Inside this house, there was only poison. You want to talk about burdens? My voice was steady now. Dead calm. Let's talk about who paid for Grandma's funeral when y'all were struggling. Let's talk about who drove Dad to physical therapy 3 times a week after his knee surgery because nobody else could be bothered. Let's talk about who helped Keisha study for her nursing boards for 6 months straight. You're throwing that in our faces now. Keisha's voice was cold. I'm reminding you that I've been here. I've always been here. Not because I wanted something. Because that's what family does. Dad's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping. You think you're better than us. You've always thought that. What? How? Your fancy words. Your college classes. Looking down on me because I worked with my hands my whole life, didn't have no degree. I've never looked down on you. I respect you. I became a warehouse worker because of you, because you taught me the value of hard work. Don't patronize me, boy. The word boy hit different. Meant to wound. Meant to diminish. Mom moved beside Dad, their united front. Marcus and Keisha flanked them. 4 against 1. The way it had always been, I realized. I just hadn't seen it clearly until now. Here's what's going to happen, Dad said, voice dropping to that controlled fury that was somehow worse than yelling. You're going to leave this house. You're going to stop calling every week expecting us to care about your day. You're going to stop showing up at family events and bringing down the mood with your presence. Each word was a knife. Clean cuts. Precise. You're going to stop being a burden, he continued. Because we're done. All of us. We've talked about this for months. Months. I looked at Marcus, at Keisha. You've been planning this for months. Marcus shrugged. We needed to be on the same page before we confronted you. Confronted me about what? My voice was rising again. What did I do? Please, somebody tell me what I actually did wrong. It's not one thing, Keisha said, her voice taking on that patient, condescending tone. It's everything. It's the energy you bring. It's the way you make everything about you. It's. Give me one example. One specific thing. They looked at each other. Actually looked at each other like they hadn't prepared for that question. Last Thanksgiving, Mom finally said. You corrected your father in front of everyone when he was telling a story. I stared. He said the Pistons won the championship in 2005. It was 2004. He asked if he had the year right. I told him. That's it. You embarrassed him. He asked me a question. Stop yelling, Dad said quietly. Dangerously. Get out of my house. Now. I should have fought harder. Should have screamed, demanded answers, refused to leave. But in that moment, standing in that dining room with the cold ham and the untouched sides and my family looking at me like I was something they needed to exterminate, I just felt tired. Bone deep. Soul tired. Okay, I said softly. Mom blinked. She'd expected more fight. They all had. I'll leave. I picked up my cobbler from the table. Still warm. Still perfect. 3 hours of work. I'd used fresh peaches, the expensive ones from the farmer's market. Made the crust from scratch because Mom always said box crust was for lazy people. Leave that, Mom said, reaching for it. I pulled it back. No. This one's mine. We might want some later. Make your own. I looked at each of them in turn. Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. Keisha was crying now, silent tears she probably didn't even realize were falling. Dad's face was stone. And Mom. Mom looked almost triumphant. Like she'd won something. I need you all to understand something, I said at the door. This is it. You're choosing this. Right now. This moment. There's no coming back from this. Good, Dad said. That's the point. I nodded. Opened the door. The sunlight was too bright, the air too sweet with spring. It didn't match the darkness inside me. Deshaun, Keisha called out. I turned, stupid enough to hope. Leave your key. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, cobbler on the passenger seat, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Families walked past. Kids in Easter clothes. Parents holding hands. Normal. Everything looked so normal. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. It's for the best. You'll understand eventually. Then Keisha, I'm sorry it had to be this way, but we all agreed. Nothing from Mom or Dad. They didn't even care enough to send a follow-up message. I drove to my apartment, That studio in the worst part of town that was actually just a working-class neighborhood where people said hello and looked out for each other. Mrs. Davis from upstairs had left Easter cookies by my door. Mr. Rodriguez from next door had texted me earlier asking if I wanted to watch the game later. These people, near strangers, treated me better than my own blood. I ate the entire cobbler that night. Sat on my worn couch with a fork, eating straight from the pan, and I didn't cry. Couldn't cry. I felt hollowed out, like something essential had been scooped out of my chest. My phone kept buzzing. More texts. Now from extended family. Apparently, the news had spread. Aunt Jackie, your parents told us what happened. You need to apologize. Cousin Tell, man, you messed up. Family's everything. Uncle Pete, real disappointed in you, nephew. They didn't even ask for my side. Nobody did. My family had told their version, and that was gospel. I was the problem. The burden. The one who needed to be cut off. Monday morning, I woke up at 5:30 for my warehouse shift. Everything felt surreal. I made coffee, ate toast, went through the motions. At work, my supervisor Jerome asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. He didn't push. During my lunch break, I sat in my car and pulled out my phone. Stared at it for 15 minutes. Then I did it. I blocked Dad's number. Mom's number. Marcus. Keisha. One by one, I went through my contacts. Aunt Jackie. Cousin Tell. Uncle Pete. Every single person who'd taken their side without question. Every single person who'd judged me without asking for my truth. Block. 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 Then I went to Facebook. Instagram. Twitter. Every social media platform where I was connected to them. Unfriended. Unfollowed. Blocked. It took 45 minutes. 45 minutes to erase 28 years of family connections. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My breathing was steady. I felt nothing. Maybe that was shock. Maybe that was acceptance. I didn't know. Didn't care. I texted my landlord, asked about breaking my lease early. I had $5,000 saved. Enough for a deposit somewhere new. Somewhere they'd never think to look if they ever came looking. Which they wouldn't. Jerome knocked on my window. Breaks over, man. You good? I stepped out of the car. The spring air felt different now. Lighter somehow. Yeah, I said, and meant it. I'm good. That afternoon, I worked harder than I'd worked in months. Lifted every box, met every deadline, stayed 2 hours late without being asked. It felt good. Having something I could control. 3 weeks later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I'd learned to ignore those, but something made me answer. Deshawn. It was Keisha. Her voice was small, shaky. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I hung up. She called back immediately from a different number. I let it ring out. Then came the voicemail. It's Marcus. Look, we need to talk. Dad's in the hospital. Heart attack. It's serious. Call me back. My finger hovered over the delete button. Dad's in the hospital. Heart attack. 3 weeks ago, that would have sent me running. 3 weeks ago, I would have dropped everything, driven straight there, sat in that waiting room with coffee I couldn't afford to buy for everyone. Now, I deleted the voicemail. 2 days later, another unknown number. This time I answered with "Stop calling me. He's asking for you." It was Mom. She sounded wrecked. "Your father is asking for you, Deshawn. Please." "Where were you asking for me on Easter?" I said quietly. "Where was this concern when you told me I was a burden? When you said I'd been a mistake since birth?" "I didn't mean." "You meant every word. You all did. You planned it for months, remember? Got your story straight. Made sure everyone was on the same page." I was surprised by how calm I sounded. "You chose this. I'm just respecting your choice." "He could die," she whispered. Then he'll die knowing exactly how he made his son feel. Goodbye, Mom. I blocked that number too. The real surprise came 6 weeks later. I was having dinner at my new apartment, a better one actually, across town where the rent was cheaper and the neighborhood was friendlier, when someone knocked. I opened the door to find Aunt Valerie, Dad's older sister. We'd never been close. She lived in Atlanta, rarely came around. "Can I come in?" she asked. I almost said no, but something in her face made me step aside. She sat on my new couch, looked around my place. Nice setup. Better than that studio. "What do you want, Aunt Val?" "To tell you the truth about your family. The truth your daddy doesn't want nobody to know." She pulled out her phone, showed me a photo. It was old, faded. A teenage boy who looked just like me. "That's my brother Raymond. Your daddy's twin. Died when they were 16. I sat down slowly. Raymond was smart. Real smart. Got a scholarship to college, first one in the family. Your grandparents, my parents, they put everything into him. Michael, your daddy, he was the afterthought. The twin that didn't shine as bright." She put the phone away. "When Raymond died in that car crash, your daddy became the golden child by default. But he never forgot what it felt like. Being second. Being the burden." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your daddy sees Raymond when he looks at you. Sees all that potential, that intelligence. And it terrifies him. So he tore you down before you could fly higher than him. Your mama? She just followed his lead. She always has." Aunt Valerie left an hour later, after telling me stories I'd never heard. About Dad's jealousy. About Mom's insecurity. About how they tried to mold Marcus and Keisha into perfect children to prove something to themselves. And how I'd refused to fit their mold, which made me the enemy. "Your daddy's recovering, by the way," she said at the door. "The heart attack was mild. He'll live." "Good for him." "You're not going back, are you? Would you?" She smiled sadly. "No, I wouldn't. I'm proud of you, nephew. Takes strength to walk away from toxic people, even when they're blood." After she left, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset. My phone was quiet. My apartment was peaceful. Tomorrow I had a job interview for a supervisor position at a different warehouse. Better pay, better hours. Mrs. Davis was teaching me to make dumplings on Saturday. Mr. Rodriguez wanted my help fixing his car, offered to pay me $50 and teach me the basics. I had a life. A real one. Built by my hands, sustained by my work. No guilt. No manipulation. No being made to feel like my existence was an inconvenience. Somewhere across town, my family was probably sitting around a dinner table. Maybe talking about me. Maybe not. It didn't matter anymore. They'd told me to stop being a burden, to get out of their lives. So I did. And you know what? I'd never felt lighter. If you believe families should lift each other up instead of tearing each other down, hit that subscribe button. Only toxic people who treat their own blood like trash won't subscribe. Comment "Everyone deserves respect" if you can't stand people like my father who crush their children's spirits. And if you think I made the right choice walking away, smash that like button. Haters and manipulators won't. Because at the end of the day, blood doesn't excuse abuse. Family doesn't mean accepting poison. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is choose yourself. And I finally did.